What is the most a dollar has ever gotten you? My great-grandma used to give all of her great-grandchildren $1 every time she saw us. It was a sweet gesture, and all of us great-grandchildren would love seeing her and enjoying the free money. She's recently been moved to a nursing home due to the risk of falling because her body is extremely weak. She's 95. I moved in with my boyfriend in August and went through my things while I packed. I found, concealed in a child's Bible, $1 wrapped in a note which read, "Dear baby, smile away. I can't wait until you're born. Here's your first dollar. Make sure mommy keeps it. I love you very much." A few weeks later, my mom, sisters and I went to visit her in the home. As my mom is her primary caretaker, I pulled the dollar from my pocket and read the note aloud. My great-grandma's eyes lit up and she beamed. "Oh wow, look at that," she said. "I'm glad mommy didn't spend it all." It was a pretty priceless moment. That's wonderful. A kid's first Slurpee. I worked in a very high-need school in inner city Tampa. I had a particularly tough first grade kiddo, second time around, and was making a much needed behavior plan for him. Poor kid was a Piite. Never saw him smile except for picture day, and the forced grin was horrifying. Honestly, no handle on his emotions and basically operated on a feral level, not unlike all his peers. Anyway, I asked him what he would like to earn as part of the plan and he said the blow machine drink. After some questioning, I realized what he meant. A Slurpee. He said he never got anything expensive. It took him all dang year but he eventually earned that Slurpee 3 days before the last day of school. I let him eat with me that day during lunch and he was over the moon. This is a child who would roll on the ground, smack me, bang his head on the wall, and snot cry when he couldn't cope with minor challenges. By the end of the year, he trailed after me like a puppy, could read on level, and took pride in his work. When he realized I wasn't going to be his teacher the next year and that I was leaving the school, he cried longer and harder than any child I've taught. I think of him often. He will probably never forget you. Bravo. Did this thing with scouts where we were given a quid to buy something with and then had to try and swap it for something better. Ended up with one of those VR headsets you put your phone in, a pair of glasses with a fake nose attached, more perfume sticks than any rational group of 16-year-olds could ever need, and a poster for a musical happening in the town that week. A friendship. And NBSP. To clarify, I live in Europe and we actually don't have dollars here. Duh. When I came back from New York I had some dollars left and had them in my wallet still for a long time, even when I forget about them from time to time. Once I was talking to a girl I met and started talking about America. She had never been there and I remembered that I had $1 in my wallet. I gave it to her and she was really happy. Still talking to her to this day, only a bit less than we used to but safe to say I can call her a friend of mine. $1 for a friendship is definitely worth it. I bought a cookie for $1 at a bake sale. Didn't really want it later on. Gave it to a lady I worked with. She loved me for it. I was her favorite after that. That lady was my butthole of a boss. Best dollar ever. I was working retail and one of the old ladies who used to come in and look at the TVs in my department while they waited for it to be time for the bus back to their independent living facility came over all faint. She asked if I had anything sweet she could have. I got a Coke from the drinks machine in the break room and she drank it slowly, holding onto my arm. My manager had called her an ambulance and they loaded her up and took her away. Diabetic. The EMT said the Coke was just the thing for her and slapped me on the back. I still remember her little wave as she left. She lived. I didn't save her life or anything, but that dollar made the difference between her getting into the ambulance conscious and with dignity versus unconscious and sick. She said later when I visited her at the hospital that she might have had to move from independent to assisted living without it. So that was a good dollar. Best soda I never drank. This is amazing. You say you didn't save her life, but who knows, you could have done. If she'd have slipped into a diabetic coma or something there's a chance they might not have been able to get her back. Well done you. You should be mega proud of yourself. A wife. I signed up for a river tour in a foreign country. It cost me an extra $1 to ride in the first boat leaving. Didn't want other boats in the way of my photos. Met someone on that boat who later introduced me to her cousin. Been married 8 years. Lucky, the wife I bought for $1 went back to Russia with my entire Beanie Baby collection last week. I bought a McDonald's burger for this homeless guy near my old job. The guy was grateful, so he taught me how to make origami cranes and we became friends. Fast forward follow up, he got back on his feet and now has a nice apartment and a really annoying, yappy dog. Teaches craft classes at a local community center. He teaches crafts, that is. His dog doesn't teach. That'd be silly. That'd be awesome. I found a huge book at this hole-in-the-wall thrift store. It basically diagrams and explains everything about how an automobile works, but it was printed in the early 80s, so pretty out of date. However, it still taught me quite a bit and I'm essentially invulnerable against mechanics trying to frick me. The knowledge was worth way more than $1. It's not outdated if you buy a car from the early 80s. Heck, you'd even be able to maintain it yourself. A full evening's entertainment. I'd bet my friend $1 he wouldn't break into our university's football stadium. He did, but he did so right in front of a security guard, who then proceeded to chase him around, flashlight waving the whole time, in full view of the rest of us outside a fence. This chase went on for probably 5 minutes, through the stands and across the field. My buddy came flying out a different fence, but ripped his pants open in the process, sharp top to the chain link. So he was then running down the street away from a frustrated security guard while giving said guard the full moon, if unintentionally. Anyways, that led to getting beers while watching cop cars drive around the neighborhood slowly. I can only assume looking for a guy with no butt to his pants. Totally worth $1. You can't buy entertainment that fun for 10 times the price. Not $1 but 60p. Got me 2 donuts from Sainsbury's which I enjoyed with my mate when we went to a football match. Probably the most I've ever appreciated a food item. That 60p was literally all I had left in my bank account. If I'm ever down to my last dollar, I hope I can enjoy it on a nice donut. I used to work at a motel doing the night audit. There was a Papa John's across the street, and in a I scratch your back you scratch mine agreement they would deliver me a 10-inch pizza for $1 as often as I liked. I would tip $1 to the driver, and suggest Papa John's to any patrons looking for a bite to eat. Smart Papa John's franchisee right there. When I was 16 my aunt and uncle wanted to give me an old hand-me-down car that both my cousins used when they first got their licenses, but because of tax purposes, it made more sense to sell the car to me. I bought my first car for $1. It's for insurance I am pretty sure. You need to buy the car to put it on your insurance. $1 is about 50 pesos in the Philippines, enough to buy a pack, 24 PCS of ice popsicles several decades ago. During summer breaks, I'd buy a pack and sell per piece to our neighborhood kids. I'd restock from my initial capital and earnings until the new school year starts and I'd earn about 500 pesos. When I was in high school I lived near a grocery store that sold packs of 10 cookies for $1. On the few occasions I had $1 to spare, my parents were very reluctant to give me money unless it was for school. My favorite thing to do was go there after school sports practice, buy a pack, and eat them on the swings at the nearby playground. A couple years ago, I was back home for the holidays and decided to recreate the tradition for old time's sake, to remember a simpler time in my life. At this point, I was late in college with a steady job, thus, I could easily afford to spend $1. I went to the same store, bought the same type I always did, located the same swing in the same park I always sat on, and prepared for a nostalgia overload. And let me tell you, the cookies were terrible. If you have the means, treat yourself better than 10-cent cookies. This is the precise reason why I won't recreate my middle school weekends a $5 giant can of Monster, $4 2-pound box of mini brownies, followed by hyperactive nausea while biking on hiking trails. I don't know if this counts, but I went to a local casino a few years ago and I was down to my last $2. I was halfway out the door defeated, but I walked by a row of cheap slots. I found a 20-line game at 1 penny per line, so I put the last of my money in the machine and I had a decision to either bet 20 cents, 40 cents, 60 cents, 80 cents, $1 or $2. I only had enough money in there for one spin at max bet, but I kinda wanted to make what little money I had last. I decided 40 cents a spin to win the jackpot on this machine. You needed to get the top symbol, which was a race car I think, across an entire line for it to hit. The reels are spinning. It felt like slow motion. The 5 race cars landed across the center line. Some old guy sitting next to me who had been playing there starts freaking out. You just hit the jackpot. I got really excited, but then the money stopped counting after $80. Turns out you needed to be playing max bet, $2 a spin, in order to trigger the jackpot. Instead I won $80 off a 0.40 cent wager. That's still a 20,000% return. Nice. Okay, to preface this, we grew up really poor and every now and then we would go to this cheap store where everything is expired and my mom would let me and my siblings, there's 4 of us, had $1 to spend, and so we would try to make it count, and I think the most I ever got was a sucker, a Tootsie Roll, an apple juice box, and 8 gumballs. Sounds like a sweet frickin' haul for a buck. 100 Swedish fish. My local public pool sold them by the penny when I was a kid. My mom would send us in with enough money for admission, and if we were lucky enough that she gave a large bill to break for change, we'd go to the concession stand. Treats at home were rather scarce, so I cherished any candy I could get my hands on at the pool. It's one of my sweetest memories, in a literal and figurative sense. I miss penny candy. My mom used to give my sisters and I 2 quarters each, 50 cents, and send us to the corner store. You could get the small candies for a penny, the bigger candies for 5 cents, or you could get this giant lizard gummy for 50 cents. My sister would always get the lizard, then try to get some of my penny candies, so I would trade her for doing my chores. The good old times. A rather bossy loud woman came into our shop to talk to my brother. My 6-year-old nephew told her she needed to leave so he could finish his homework. She laughed and left. I gave my nephew $1 for getting her to leave. I didn't tell him why he got the $1. Black Friday, the local animal shelter has a special any black dog or cat for a $1. Nephew buys a dog with his $1, so $1. 1. Got rid of an annoyance. 2. Saved a dog's life. 3. Gave my nephew a great pet. 4. Annoyed the crap out of my brother because he really didn't want another dog at the house. Played a game at a fundraiser that had £1 entry. Had to slide a coin as close to the bottle as possible. Ended up winning 1.5 liters of brand vodka. The following weekend me and some friends went camping for a few days. Safe to say that bottle went to good use. When I was very young, around 6, I think, I was sitting on a curb trying, and failing, to play my new, toy, guitar, when an old man put a $1 bill at my feet. I was absolutely flabbergasted, and tried to give it back to him, but he explained he was tipping me. I was then introduced to the wonderful and lucrative world of busking, from which I have received lots of enjoyment and cash in recent years. I want to be an artist in a park working on pieces with a hat by my feet for tips. But my local park requires you to buy a permit to do that sort of thing, and it's like $200. I traded a bunch of $1 coins for $2 coins when my little brother was dumb enough to believe that, because they were bigger, the $1 ones were worth more. Mine was led to think shininess was value. I have a friend who put like $1.50 into a CSGO skin jackpot back when CSGO gambling was a thing. He probably had 1% chance of winning, but he won the whole thing. Like $100 to $200 of skins. So what did he do next? He put all of his winnings into a coin flip. 50/50 chance of either losing everything or coming out with double. He won. Seems like any rational person would stop there, but he did it again. He bet all $200 plus in another coin flip, and won again. If he had lost either of those coin flips, he would have been back where he started before entering the jackpot. At that point he finally decided to chill out a bit now that he had $400 worth of skins. He spent the next few days doing coin flips for hundreds of dollars, not all of what he had, but parts of it, and eventually ended up with $1,000 plus worth of skins. I knew where he was doing coin flips and would sometimes watch the guy put like $400 on the line. He was betting during class, lol. He got greedy, though. He did bigger bets and didn't slow down. About a day after his inventory had reached $1,000 in value, he told me he had nothing left. He lost it all the same way he won it. All of this happened over the course of 4 days. What a wild ride that was, LMAO. I have a gaming friend that opened a case and got a $4 K plus skin. I never opened crates after that because I figured I had used my luck up by association. Okay, the short version. We're drunk at a bar and my friend bets me $1 that I can't throw a dart and hit said dollar taped to the board. Above his head a la William Tell. Of course, I miss, and stuck that dart to the hilt into his forehead. We're still drunk and after laughing and trying unsuccessfully to remove said dart. Off to the hospital. Drunk friend has acute PA remove the dart in the air. He proposes to said PA then and there. They wind up dating. They get married. Now, here's where it pays off for me. Destination wedding in Florida Keys. I am broke. Like, broke. Can't go. Sorry. Negative he says. You shall be the best man. After all, my crappy dart throwing skills is why they met. So, they pay for me to spend a whole week hanging out in the Keys with the rest of the wedding party. And man, what a party. For the wedding. Wedding was had. They are still married 20 years later. And yes, he still has the dart. Framed in their den. That's cute as frick. Late to the game here, but 40 pounds of fresh oranges. In California, in orange growing areas near Fresno, guys will sell oranges for like $5 a 20-pound bag. I was passing a guy and he had 2 bags on his truck left and it was getting late. I pulled over thinking I had cash, and he looked relieved. But when I opened my wallet and all I had was $1 and there, he had this Jesus freaking Christ look on his face and said give me the dollar and take the oranges. I thanked him too much and grabbed a bag. He said no, both of them. I just want to go home. I gave so many away to friends. They were tired of them. From then on, I made sure I had cash. And when I saw that guy selling any of the fruit or veggies growing near, I stopped and got some at his full asking price. His name was Rich. And if you see a now very old Mexican dude in Clovis, CA selling oranges, buy them. Old Mexicans selling fruit on the side of the highway, even at full price at IA, always a bargain. That crap is good. I bought for 50 cents at Goodwill, on separate occasions, a copy of Ticket to Ride Europe that was brand new and retails for $50. An old warboard game expansions brand new that I sold for $150. A like new Gamma Cube copy of the Mega Man Legacy Collection that I sold for $65. I once used a single dollar to buy about 100 bottles of soda and $25 in quarters over the course of several weeks. There was a vending machine at my old school that dispensed sodas. They had it for 3 years. There was a flaw in the system. Basically, you could put $1 in and quickly yank it without ripping it. If you timed it right, the system registered $1. For every 2 times you did this, you got 1 soda and 1 quarter for free. I did this 100 times in a row without getting caught by staff or students or fricking it up. I could have told the popular kids or at least sold them vending machine soda at a reduced price for a profit. But frick those guys. They bullied me very frequently. I was sad to see the vending machine was gone when I came back for senior year. They claimed they got rid of it because it promoted unhealthy diets, but they still let us bring in outside soft drinks to class. You never let secrets out like this. Keep it to yourself and it lasts longer. There was a vending machine in my dorm that had a broken flap. You could reach your arm up and grab sodas pretty easily. That lasted for a year or so. Bought a raffle ticket for $1 and ended up winning an advent calendar of Jim Beam whiskeys valued at $45. It was only 12 days worth and I drank it all on the first day. Got really drunk and banged a chick who got pregnant. And now I'm in crippling debt because she had a baby and left me and filed for child support. Best $1 ever. I want to have a beer with you. Saved me from getting mugged and gave me a great story. I live in Los Angeles and at the time I was a teenager taking the subway to work. I see a guy dressed as Jack Sparrow, one of those guys who walk around Hollywood and Highland for photo ops, going through his pockets looking for money to buy a ticket, but he just keeps coming up with gold coins. He, in character, asked if I could help him out because he forgot his wallet at home and was $1 short. I'm like, yeah, this is funny enough. He earned the $1. Give it to him. That evening I'm riding home and as I'm leaving the station, some guys start coming at me and are clearly looking for a fight. Out of freaking nowhere comes Jack Sparrow brandishing his fake sword, screaming at them to back off. Okay, so now it's 2 on 2, but we're still in danger. Jack's got a fake sword. I'm unarmed. They have real knives. Well, apparently some of his friends were riding with him, and now they catch up. Now it's 2 muggers on one side, and on the other the most cartoony crap I've been involved in. Jack Sparrow, Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees are standing between the muggers and me, talking crap, except Jason, who's just standing there menacingly looming over them. But the muggers decided 4 on 2 wasn't a good bet and backed off. That story was definitely worth $1. I told my mom when I graduated college I was gonna buy myself a GoPro to take with me on a music tour that following summer. She told me to use her credit card rewards and see what I can find for the points she had accumulated. Turns out she was 10 points short of earning the exact camera I wanted. I called customer service to ask if I could just pay the difference, and they told me I only had to pay $1 for the camera. A few days later I received a brand new GoPro 5 just in time for my music tour. I have been saving up for a camera for months and totally forgot to look into my CC rewards. Thanks for the reminder. A girlfriend. True story. Girl I worked with was thirsty and didn't have $1 for a Sprite, so I went and got her one. Struck up a conversation and still together a year later. She thirsty alright. Bought a raffle ticket, won a night stay at the Peabody in Little Rock, dinner at Capriccio Grill, and tickets to a UALR basketball game. In England, so it's £1. Paid for a homeless person's burger at Max's when his voucher was out of date. Some kind of dad hipster watches it happen and offered me a job on the spot with his design company. Didn't care that I wasn't qualified. Worked there for 2 years before I moved on to freelance UX. Left on good terms and he chucks work my way from time to time. So I guess that pound got me £38k before tax. Plants vs Zombies GW2. It was $0.99 on PSN Store and my 3-year-old loves to play it. That's all he wants to do pretty much. My 4-year-old just taught my 18-month-old to call me Buckethead, as in Buckethead Zombie, so my nickname went from Momatello to Buckethead. One time at a garage sale I saw a wheelchair I fancied. I asked the guy how much and he told me $1. Alright, sold. Everyone asked me why and I said why not. A few years later my mom got sick and that wheelchair came in real handy for my dad when it came to helping her get around. I'll always consider that the best dollar I spent. I get to show my elderliness. I used to go as a child to a store with $1 and got a pack of cigarettes and a Pepsi for my mom. A candy bar for me. The 70s. I had a horse that was my best friend. I tried to buy him. My budget was $25,000 and his owner wanted $30,000 and wouldn't budge, but let me ride and show him for a year to get him marketed. I won a world championship with him. I was ranked 2nd in the country with him. I won the average every single time we went out. He was donated to a college team after that season because he had undisclosed health issues that wouldn't allow him to be sold for her even higher price tag after our year of competition. I drunkenly sent an email to the college one night about a year after he was donated saying I'd love to be put in his file as a home if he ever needed one. 2 years later, I got an email asking if I wanted him since he no longer fit their program. I drove the 4 hours to get him, brought my checkbook, and wrote out the $1 check. Best money I ever spent. He lives in the first stall in my barn that I can see from the house. I worked at a casino as a security guard. I'd usually bring my lunch but one day decided to go to another casino and get their free pizza buffet. I put $1 in the machine and immediately won $50. So I bought myself 49 more pizza lunches. My horse. He was a rescue, so I paid $1 to make it a legal transaction. So maybe the real answer is a lifetime addiction and thousands upon thousands of dollars lost that could have gone towards something practical, like retirement. I got my cat for $1. The shelter was at capacity with kittens. He's a fat tub of lard about as useful as a lawn ornament, whiny, and obnoxious, and I love him. Who needs retirement when you have pets? When I was a kid you used to be able to go to the canteen and buy a sizable bag of mixed lollies for 0.50c. You bet I'd buy 2. Oh, the days of penny candy. Bought a costume necklace for 89 cents plus tax at a thrift store. turned out to be 18k gold with a fake clasp. I spent $40 on a new clasp and sold it for $500. I could have not bought the clasp and sold it for $300 for melt, but the additional $40 was worth it. A new car. My grandma's husband bought a new car, drove it around for about 6,000 miles, bought another car, put that one in the garage and never touched it again. 6ish years later I turn 18 and my grandma mentions the car. I offered to buy it, though I only had $1,000 or so in savings. They ended up just giving it to me. Put $1 on the title as amount sold for, though I never actually gave them $1, just a ton of hugs and thank you out and grateful happy tears. The first time I ever used a slot machine, it was so the casino would let me have a chocolate bar. I won £800 from £1 and I got several chocolate bars and bags of crisps all for free. Can't complain. In the US Navy when I was on deployment, my ship traveled to Israel, flag of Israel. The exchange rate from USD, $, to whatever they call shekels was like 1.4, meaning for every dollar spent American I got the equivalent to 4 of their dollars. I went to this food vendor that served shawarmas, Middle Eastern sandwich, and it was amazing. So for 3 shekels or 75 cents American I got a 12-inch chicken shawarma sandwich, 12 ounces Coca-Cola and some pita chips hummus. That was the best tasting sandwich I've had in my life. Chicken, cucumbers, tomatoes, onions, hummus and flatbread all rolled up like a burrito. Coca-Cola there was great, no high fructose syrup, only cane sugar. Pita chips hummus were all homemade including the bread for the sandwich. Best part of traveling for me is trying the local food, shopping and going to the historical sites to learn more about each nation I traveled to. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.